We are back now to look at our notes from today's lesson. Today is Friday, November 30th, and this was from lesson 4.4. And this lesson was how many groups. This is part 1. We're going to start on Monday with part 2, and that's going to go on page 62. So if you still need to copy that table of contents, you can pause the video here. Remember, this Unit 4 table of contents is in our math notebook on page 58. Before we get started going through the notes, I just want to call your attention again to the fact that my page has a title and it also has a date. And you can't see it right now, but my page also has a page number, and that's page 62. In the Lesson 4 summary, we are looking at some problems that involve equal-sized groups and also involve fractions, and we have an example. How many 1/6 are in 2? We can express this equation with multiplication or with division. So we could show that as how many groups of 1/6 make 2? Or we could say 2 broken into 1/6. We looked today at pattern diagrams, so I have here, I'm going to get a little closer. I colored the pattern blocks in, and I would like you to do the same because our copies are in black and white and the pattern blocks are in colors, and we've been referring to the colors. So please do color these in. This will be part of your notebook grade, effective use of color. We have our yellow hexagon. We have our blue rhombus. We have our red trapezoid. And we have our green triangle. And I'm labeling these just so that we make sure that we come back to them and we're solid with what they are. If the hexagon represents one whole, so this is our 1, then the triangle represents 1/6, because today in class we saw that 6 triangles made the same shape as that yellow hexagon, so that's my 1/6. We know that this, I'm going to write underneath, this was 1/2 and this was 1/3. So we have 1 whole, 1/3, 1/2, and 1/6. Now that that's there, I don't like that some of them have numbers inside and some of them don't. So we could show how many 1/6 there are in 2 by making 1 full hexagon here and 1 full hexagon here, and then we can see that it takes 12 triangles to make 2 hexagons, which means there are 12 groups of 1/6 in 2. I'm going to go back to my handy dandy red, purple, and blue now. So my number of groups we said was red, so I have 12 groups. And how much is in each group? Each group has 1/6. And that gives me a total of 2. So now we can have a solution here. Before we had question marks, we can write 12 in the place of the question mark. So 12 groups of 1/6 gives me 2, or 2 broken into 1/6 would be 12 groups. So I'm going to show my totals in purple. We know that it's 12 groups, so my 12 is going to be red. And my 1/6 is how much is in each group, the size of that triangle. So my 1/6 is blue. I'm going to pause this here so that we can take a look at our... For our cool down, I'm not going to require you to do the coloring. We started to look at this in class. If you're in Temple, in LaSalle, we didn't get to it. I am actually going to use some pattern blocks to show this. So I'm going to, oh, I realized they're across the room. I'll be right back. Okay, they want us to show that 4 groups of 1/3 is equal to 1 and 1/3. So I know that this is going to be more than 1, So I'm going to show 2 pattern blocks, and we want to show that 4 groups of 1/3. And we know that our 1/3s are our blue rhombuses, so we have 4 groups of 1/3. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to arrange these to cover my hexagons. So here I can see that 3 of those 1/3s makes one whole. And remember, we talked today about going all the way back to Unit 1. We said that if 2 shapes can cover each other completely with nothing sticking out, then they have the same area. So 3/3 has the same area as that one whole. And then I've got my last one. So I can see that I have 3/3 plus another third. This is 1 and 1/3. And they want us to draw that pattern block diagram that represents that. So I'm going to move this up here. And remember, you can always go to the applet that's in the lesson. You can scan the QR code in your workbook. So I've got my hexagon. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be readable. And I'm going to show... So this is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I know it's a little messed up here. Maybe I should just trace. And we know that this guy, oh, look how much better that worked, is also 1/3. And I'm just going to quickly use a colored pencil just for the sake of showing that I'm shading in 4 groups of 1/3. So we can see 4 groups of 1/3 is equal to 1 whole and 1/3. Move these out of the way. We want to know here how many 1/2s are in 3 1/2. So I've got 1. I've got 2 whole. I have 3 whole. And let's open another bag. A half. 1, 2, 3 1/2. So this is 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5, 6, and 7. So I can say then that there are 7 1/2s in 3 1/2. We want to know how many 1/3s are in 2 2/3. Well, we know that 3/3 will make 1 whole. So another 3/3 will make 2 wholes. And then 2 more thirds. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 thirds in 2 2/3. And then finally we are being asked how many 6ths are in 2/3. So first, let's show our 2/3. This is 2/3. I need to be able to cover this with my little green triangles, my 1/6 triangles. So I've got some green triangles here. So I am going to arrange my green triangles so that they cover my blue rhombuses so that I can see how many triangles it takes to have the same area as 2/3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means there are 4 1/6 in 2/3. 4 groups of 1/6 makes 2/3. Let's write that. 4 groups of 1/6 makes 2/3. Here we have 8 groups of 1/3 makes 2 2/3. and 7 groups of 1/2 gives me 3.5. So we can use the pattern blocks to show that. You can go to look at the QR code that's in your workbook for lesson 4, and it'll bring you to the applet where you can play with the pattern blocks. It should show up on your phone. I haven't actually tried it. I haven't tried this one on my phone. Definitely works on tablets. You can use it on a laptop. Okay, take care.